Good morning, afternoon, everyone. Today, I want to talk about something we often try to avoid: struggle. We run from it, complain about it, wish it away. But what if I told you that struggle is not the enemy? It's the hidden gift we never knew we needed. Every successful person, every inspiring story, every breakthrough begins with a struggle. The pain you feel, the obstacles you face, the failures you endure, those are not signs of weakness. They are proof that you are trying, growing, and becoming. No one climbs a mountain by accident. It takes sweat, perseverance, and sometimes falling back down. But every time you get back up, you are not the same person. You're stronger, wiser, tougher. When life tests you, don't ask, "Why me?" Ask, "What is this teaching me?" Because inside every struggle is a lesson. Inside every challenge is a chance to rise. Inside every failure is fuel for the fire that will drive your success. The people who win in life are not the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who chose to fight, to endure, to get back up one more time. So when life gets hard, and it will, embrace the struggle, lean into it, learn from it, because struggle builds strength, and strength builds greatness. Thank you. Struggle is not your enemy. It's your greatest teacher. We live in a world that often glorifies ease, comfort, and convenience. We scroll past curated success stories on social media, marveling at how effortlessly others seem to rise, achieve, and conquer. But what we often fail to see are the countless moments of frustration, rejection, self-doubt, and sheer perseverance that built those triumphs. The truth is, struggle is not a sign of failure or weakness. It's not a punishment. Struggle is the process. And if you pay attention, it's the teacher. Think about the times you've truly grown as a person. Were those moments born from calm, predictable routines? Or did they emerge from situations that tested you, pushed you, even broke you open? Most people can trace their real personal development back to challenges. The breakup that forced them to rediscover themselves. The rejection that lit a fire within. The failure that made them work twice as hard and think twice as deeply. Struggle teaches us what no textbook or YouTube tutorial ever could. Teaches resilience, the ability to keep going when everything in you wants to stop. It teaches adaptability, because obstacles often force us to rethink our plans, find new routes, and improvise when the original map no longer applies. It teaches empathy, because when you've suffered, you understand suffering in others. You stop judging, and you start connecting. One of the most overlooked lessons of struggle is how it teaches you about yourself. When everything is going well, you may think you know who you are. But it's in the storm that your character is revealed. How do you respond when things fall apart? How do you crumble, or do you create? Do you hide, or do you rise? The struggle strips away the surface and shows you what you're made of. And sometimes the most powerful moment of self-discovery isn't when you win. It's when you realize you can survive even when you don't. There's also an intelligence that comes with struggle, a wisdom that can't be faked or fast-tracked. It's the quiet understanding that life doesn't always go according to plan, and that's okay. It's the realization that hardship doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're being shaped. In fact, some of the most creative breakthroughs and powerful ideas are born in moments of frustration. Struggle forces your mind to stretch, to innovate, to think differently. And yet, despite all this, society often tells us to avoid struggle at all costs. We're conditioned to see struggle as something shameful, something to hide, something that means we're not doing well. But that couldn't be further from the truth. The people who truly succeed deeply, authentically, aren't the ones who escape struggle. They're the ones who embraced it, wrestled with it, and emerged wiser because of it. Athletes know this. Artists know this. Entrepreneurs know this. Anyone who has ever created something meaningful knows that the process is messy, uncomfortable, and uncertain. But it is also rich, transformative, and real, because struggle is not just a phase to get through. It is where the real work happens. It is where you happen. So when struggle shows up, don't turn away. Sit with it. Learn from it. Listen to what it's teaching you, not just about the world, but about yourself. In time, you may realize that what you once saw as a curse was, in fact, your most valuable classroom. Growth comes through pain, not comfort. Comfort feels good. It's familiar, easy, and safe. It's the soft bed on a cold morning, the predictable routine that asks nothing more of us than to repeat yesterday. And yet, comfort rarely changes us. It rarely pushes us forward. If anything, it keeps us still, slowly convincing us that where we are is good enough, even when we know deep down that we're meant for more. Pain, on the other hand, is uncomfortable. It disrupts the routine. It challenges our sense of control. It introduces us to fear, uncertainty, and vulnerability. But here's the paradox. The very things we try to avoid, the struggle, the heartbreak, the rejection, the failure, those are the things that shape us most. Growth is not born in the moments when everything is going smoothly. It is forged in discomfort, because only discomfort forces change. When you go to the gym and push your body past its limits, your muscles ache. That soreness isn't weakness. It's the sign of growth. It means your body is rebuilding, adapting, strengthening. The same is true for your mind, your character, your skills. Mental and emotional growth happens the same way. Through tension, through challenge, through pushing past what you think you're capable of. Comfort zones are like invisible fences. They don't physically stop us, but they condition us to stay small. You might have dreams, talents, or potential far greater than you realize, but as long as you remain in a place where you're never challenged, that potential will stay dormant. It's not enough to have ambition. You have to be willing to be uncomfortable, because that's where the stretching begins. Pain introduces us to resilience. It shows us that we can endure more than we thought. It teaches patience, because transformation takes time. It builds self-awareness, because in painful moments we're forced to reflect, to evaluate our choices, and to face the truth about who we are and what we value. Without discomfort, we don't ask hard questions. Without hard questions, we don't get deep answers. You don't learn courage by staying safe. You don't learn humility by always being right. You don't learn grit by quitting when things get hard. Every lesson that leads to real maturity begins in a place of discomfort. And that discomfort is the path, not the obstacle, to becoming who you were meant to be. Pain also strips away illusion. When you're in pain, there's no space for pretending. The masks come off. The noise of the world fades. You're left with raw truth. And that's a powerful place to build from. Because when you know who you are under pressure, you start to move differently. You stop living for appearances. You start living for purpose. Of course, none of this means we should go looking for pain. But when it comes, and it will, it's important not to waste it. Pain is one of life's most honest teachers. It doesn't flatter. It doesn't sugarcoat. But if you let it, it will mold you into someone deeper, stronger, and more compassionate than comfort ever could. We all crave ease, but deep down, what we really want is meaning. And meaning is often found on the other side of struggle. If you want to grow, get this change, but truly evolve, you have to be willing to face the fire, knowing that it's not there to destroy you, but to we often view setbacks as the end of the road. Signs that we failed, missed our chance, or simply don't have what it takes. But the reality is very different. Setbacks are not signals to stop. They are setups for something greater. Life has a way of using delays, disappointments, and detours to prepare us, not to punish us. What feels like a fall is sometimes just the start of a rise you couldn't have imagined. When a door closes, it's easy to feel discouraged. You question your worth, your timing, and sometimes even your dreams. But what you can't see in that moment is that the delay may be building something inside you that success never could. Strength, clarity, hunger, resilience. Often it's not the achievement that grows you, it's everything you had to go through to reach it. Consider the people who inspire you most. The athletes who came back after injury. The entrepreneurs who failed before they made it. The students who were told they wouldn't amount to anything, only to prove everyone wrong. Their stories are powerful not because everything went smoothly, but because they kept going when it didn't. What made them remarkable wasn't their luck, it was their refusal to stay down. Setbacks expose weaknesses and force us to confront the gaps in our skill, mindset, or preparation. They challenge us to reassess our strategies, improve our discipline, and refine our focus. Without setbacks, we'd never be pushed to evolve. We'd stay in the same place, using the same methods, stuck in outdated mindsets. A setback is not the end, it's an invitation to level up. There's also an element of timing. Sometimes life withholds what you want because you're not ready for it yet. You may think you're prepared for success, for love, for leadership. But true readiness is tested in difficulty. If success comes before your character is strong enough to handle it, it can crush you. But when you go through setbacks and survive them, you gain the maturity to not just achieve success, but to sustain it. A setback can also redirect you to something better. Many people only find their real path after their original plan fails. That job you didn't get. Maybe it would have made you miserable. That relationship that ended, maybe it was holding you back. That business that flopped, maybe it was the experience you needed to make the next one thrive. In the moment, these feel like losses. But over time, they become the very things that shape your breakthrough. Setbacks are emotional, yes, frustrating of course, but they are also deeply educational. They force you to dig deeper, to search for reasons to keep believing when everything says you shouldn't. That process builds the kind of internal fire that no easy victory ever could. Comebacks aren't born out of convenience. They're born in the trenches, in the nights when no one is watching, when you keep showing up even though everything in you wants to give up. The pressure of a setback also teaches you to separate what's real from what's temporary. Real passion survives failure. Real purpose survives disappointment. Real strength is forged not when you're winning, but when you're losing and still refuse to quit. Each time you fall and rise again, you're not starting over from scratch. You're starting from experience. You're stronger, sharper, and more aware. Every setback is preparing you, training you, and building a foundation for the comeback that's still forming. You may not see it yet, but something greater is growing beneath the surface piece by piece. When we hear a success story, what we often see is the highlight reel, the breakthrough, the applause, the recognition, the moment when it all came together. But behind every overnight success is a history of silent battles, sleepless nights, near-quit moments, and failures that tested everything. The world may celebrate the outcome, but what truly builds the story is the struggle that preceded it. At the core of every success lies a foundation made of failure and the perseverance to keep going anyway. Failure is not something to be feared or avoided. In fact, failure is an essential part of growth. It's feedback. It's a mirror showing us where we need to improve, where we need to stretch, where we need to let go of ego and embrace learning. No one masters anything without failing first, often repeatedly. Whether it's inventing something new, building a business, pursuing a dream, or mastering a craft, failure is the price of entry for anything truly great. Take any name you admire in any field: science, sports, music, entrepreneurship, education, and dig a little deeper. You'll find rejections, dismissals, setbacks, and criticism. You'll find moments when that person was laughed at, ignored, underestimated, or even told to give up. But they didn't. They persevered. And that perseverance, that refusal to surrender, is what turned their failures into stepping stones instead of roadblocks. The difference between someone who fails and someone who succeeds isn't luck. It's the decision to keep going. Perseverance is the bridge between failure and success. It's what turns a painful experience into a powerful comeback. It's waking up the next day after everything has gone wrong and choosing to try again. It's showing up when no one is watching. It's continuing to believe in your purpose, even when the results haven't shown up yet. Failure without perseverance leads to regret, but failure with perseverance leads to growth. When you stick with something long enough, the failures begin to lose their power to intimidate you. You begin to see them not as signs of inadequacy, but as the training ground for success. Every failure teaches you something. About strategy, about patience, about people, and most importantly, about yourself. Perseverance is also where your character is formed. It's easy to be motivated when everything is going your way. But who are you when it's not? Who are you when the doors close, the opportunities dry up, and the support fades? That's where perseverance comes in. That's where grit is born, not from motivation, but from discipline. Not from applause, but from quiet self-belief. And let's be honest, perseverance is not always exciting. Sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it feels like nothing is changing, even though you're giving it everything you've got. But success isn't always a loud, dramatic breakthrough. Often, it's the quiet accumulation of effort. It's the result of years of small, consistent actions that no one saw, but that built the skills, habits, and mindset required for the big moment to arrive. True success is built over time. It's not just the result of talent or opportunity. It's the result of failing and choosing to stand back up. Of being discouraged and still showing up. Of hearing a no and still believing in your us. The glory you see at the end is only possible because of the grit that carried them through the middle. Every great success story is really a story of perseverance wrapped in lessons of failure. The more you embrace that truth, the more power you have to write your own. Hard times are unavoidable. They come in many forms: loss, uncertainty, rejection, disappointment, pressure, and pain. No matter who you are or what your path looks like, there will be moments that shake your confidence, test your resolve, and make you question everything. In those moments, our first instinct is often to escape, to shut down emotionally, to numb the discomfort, to pretend things are fine when they're not. But true growth begins when you stop running from hard times and start leaning into them with purpose. Avoiding difficulty doesn't make it disappear. It only delays the lessons it's meant to teach. When we avoid pain or challenge, we rob ourselves of the chance to grow stronger, wiser, and more grounded. Leaning into hardship doesn't mean you enjoy it or wish for it. It means you choose to face it with intention. It means you look it in the eye and say, I will learn from this. I will find meaning in this. I will not let this break me. I will let it build me. Leaning in means staying present even when it hurts. It means not shutting yourself off from your emotions just because they are uncomfortable. Pain demands to be felt, not suppressed. When you feel it fully, when you let it speak, it shows you where the wound is and what needs healing. That awareness is powerful. You can't change what you don't confront, and you can't confront what you refuse to feel. There's also a strange kind of clarity that comes during difficult seasons. When everything falls apart, the distractions disappear. You start to see what truly matters, who supports you, what you value, what you're made of. Hard times strip away the noise and surface-level priorities. They leave behind what's real. And when you face them with purpose, you get the opportunity to rebuild your life on a stronger, more authentic foundation. Purpose gives pain direction. Without it, struggle feels meaningless, random, even cruel. But when you approach a hard time with the question, what is this here to teach me? The experience shifts. You begin to see pain not just as something to endure, but as something to work with. You may not control what happened, but you control what you make of it. That shift in perspective turns you from a victim into a student of your own life. Purpose also fuels persistence and when the road is tough, when the results aren't showing, when your energy is low and your confidence is shaken, purpose is what keeps you moving forward. It gives you a reason to keep trying, even when quitting would be easier. It gives your suffering context. It reminds you that there's something bigger on the other side of this moment, a version of you that is more resilient, more courageous, more aligned with who you are becoming. And let's not forget, hard times are where some of the most meaningful parts of the human experience come to life. Empathy, gratitude, humility, faith. None of these are built when everything is going perfectly. They are born in adversity. You begin to understand others more deeply when you've been broken yourself. You begin to appreciate the small things when you've gone without them. You begin to let go of pride when life humbles you. The path of least resistance rarely leads to the most rewarding destination. By leaning into hard times, you develop inner strength that can't be taught in comfort. You learn that you are capable of more than you believed. You discover that your spirit doesn't crumble under pressure. It rises, and you begin to walk through life not in fear of what may come, but in trust that you can face whatever does. There are moments in life when everything familiar begins to fall apart. When what used to work no longer does, when relationships break, dreams get delayed, or your confidence is shaken to the core. These are the moments we label as struggle. Times when we're pressed, confused, stretched, and often emotionally overwhelmed. But strangely enough, these very moments, the ones we try hardest to avoid or escape, are often the ones that reveal who we really are. Struggle isn't just a test of endurance. It's a mirror. It reflects back your true character. And more importantly, it begins to shape your identity. When things are going well, it's easy to appear composed. It's easy to be kind, patient, hopeful, and generous when life is smooth. But character isn't truly measured in comfort. It's revealed under pressure. Who are you when your plans fall through? When no one's cheering you on? When you face betrayal, disappointment, or unexpected loss? These moments bring your inner world to the surface. The struggle strips away the image we try to present to the world. It pulls away the polished, practiced mask and forces us to confront what lies beneath: our fears, our insecurities, our strengths, and our beliefs. And while that can feel terrifying, it is also deeply transformative. It's in that raw, honest space that identity begins to take shape. Not the identity based on achievements or titles, but the identity rooted in resilience, integrity, and truth. It's easy to define yourself by what you do or what you have, your job, your talents, your relationships, your possessions. But when struggle removes those external markers, you're left with a core question. Who am I, really? What do I believe in when it's hard to believe? What values do I hold on to when I have nothing left to prove? These questions don't get asked in comfort. They're born in the valley, not the mountaintop. Struggle also offers a unique kind of clarity. When you're in the midst of it, you begin to separate what's essential from what's superficial. The opinions of others begin to matter less. What once seemed urgent or important fades into the background, and what truly matters, peace of mind, authentic connection, personal growth, comes into sharp focus. This clarity doesn't just change your mindset, it redefines your identity. You stop living to impress and start living with purpose. The process is rarely pretty. There's often confusion, frustration, and a sense of being lost. But even in the chaos, something solid is forming beneath the surface. You're building emotional muscle. You're learning to trust your instincts, to be self-aware, to walk with humility. And as you keep showing up for yourself in hard times, you develop a quiet kind of strength, the kind that doesn't need to be loud or validated, because it's grounded in experience. Moreover, the identity formed in struggle is usually more compassionate. When you've gone through your own battles, you become less quick to judge and more inclined to understand. You see the world through gentler eyes. You know what it's like to carry invisible burdens, so you offer kindness more freely. That kind of character is not taught. It's earned. And it becomes part of your story, your presence, and your legacy. This inner transformation, the reshaping of your identity through adversity, can never be taken from you. It's yours. It lives in how you show up, how you speak to others, how you lead, and how you love. It's a reminder that who you become in the struggle may be far more powerful than anything you achieve because of it. Discomfort is something most of us instinctively avoid. We resist it. We run from it. We label it as negative, inconvenient, or even threatening. We fill our lives with comfort zones, routines, habits, and distractions that keep us feeling safe and in control. But the truth is, nothing extraordinary has ever come from staying comfortable. Discomfort is not the enemy. It's the birthplace of innovation, strength, and breakthrough. Think about the greatest inventions, the most powerful ideas, the boldest moves in history. None of them were born in ease. They came from tension, necessity, frustration, and sometimes even desperation. Innovation happens when what exists is no longer enough. When the old way breaks down, when people are forced to think differently, to take risks, to challenge norms. Discomfort fuels the process. It pushes the mind out of autopilot and into creativity. When you're too comfortable, you don't need to change. But when discomfort strikes, change becomes essential. And in that space, breakthrough begins. On a personal level, discomfort introduces you to your true potential. Physical discomfort is how you build endurance. Emotional discomfort is how you develop resilience. Mental discomfort is how you grow intelligence and perspective. Every time you feel the edge of your limits, you're being given a chance to expand them. But only if you stay in the discomfort long enough to let it do its work. Discomfort reveals what you're capable of. When you're stretched beyond what you think you can handle, and yet somehow find a way to keep going, you begin to rewrite your own internal story. The version of you that once said, "I can't," begins to say, "Maybe I can." Confidence doesn't come from success alone. It comes from walking through discomfort and realizing you're stronger than you thought. Strength isn't born in ease, it's born in pressure and challenge and the moments when quitting would be easy, but you keep going anyway. And then there's the breakthrough. That moment when, after months or years of struggle, everything clicks into place. It may look sudden from the outside, but internally, it's been building all along. Breakthroughs are not lucky accidents. They are the result of sustained pressure, repeated failure, and the courage to stay in the uncomfortable space of not having the answers yet. Most people never experience real breakthrough because they escape discomfort too soon. They back off when the heat rises. But those who stay, those who endure the tension without giving up, are the ones who reach the other side. Discomfort also demands honesty. When things are comfortable, it's easy to avoid facing certain truths about your habits, your fears, your relationships, or your direction in life. But when discomfort enters the scene, denial becomes impossible. You start asking deeper questions. What's really holding me back? What do I truly want? Why am I stuck? Those questions don't arise in comfort. They are born in moments of struggle, and they pave the way for transformation. In discomfort, there is also a strange form of freedom. When you stop needing everything to be easy, when you accept that challenge as part of the process, you stop being afraid of it. You stop seeing hardship as a punishment and start seeing it as part of your training ground. You build a mindset that welcomes difficulty, not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand its purpose. That shift changes everything. You become braver, bolder, more willing to step into the unknown. You begin to chase growth instead of safety. You begin to live fully rather than cautiously. Discomfort then isn't something to run from, it's something to run through. Because inside the uncomfortable spaces of life, where things are uncertain, where the outcomes aren't guaranteed, where your ego gets challenged and your limits are tested, that's where real transformation is waiting. That's where innovation is born, strength is forged, and the most meaningful breakthroughs begin to take shape. Courage is often misunderstood. Many people associate it with dramatic, heroic acts, running into danger, making bold speeches, or taking on impossible challenges in front of a crowd. And while those are undoubtedly expressions of bravery, the truest form of courage is much quieter. It doesn't always involve applause or recognition. Sometimes courage is simply the act of getting out of bed in the morning when everything inside you says not to. It's the choice to keep showing up, to keep trying, to keep believing, even when life feels heavy, uncertain, or unfair. Choosing to rise each day despite the odds, that's real courage. There are days when the world feels like it's pressing in from all sides. You may be carrying grief, financial stress, heartbreak, health battles, loneliness, or the invisible weight of self-doubt. The temptation in those moments is to shut down, to give in to despair, to convince yourself that it doesn't matter if you quit. But choosing to rise, even imperfectly, is a radical act of defiance. It says, I won't let this break me. I won't surrender to hopelessness. I may not have all the answers, but I'm still here, I'm still trying. This kind of courage doesn't require a stage. It happens in silence. It happens in the moments no one sees. When you're overwhelmed but still choose to care for your family. When you feel empty but still go to work. When you're tired of being disappointed but still chase your goals. When you've been hurt but still open your heart again. These are not small acts, they are monumental. Because they represent the strength to move forward without guarantees, without applause, and without certainty of reward. Real courage is not about the absence of fear or pain. It's about facing those things and choosing action anyway. It's about doing what's right even when it's uncomfortable, and staying committed to your values when the easy route would be to abandon them. It's about showing up not just once, but again and again when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you've already failed more times than you can count. There's something deeply powerful about someone who refuses to be defined by their circumstances. Life will throw obstacles in your path, some external, some internal. The odds may seem stacked against you, but the decision to rise each day is a reclaiming of your story. You're saying, I may not control everything that happens to me, but I will control how I respond. I will keep rising. I will keep rising. It also takes immense courage to be vulnerable in a world that often celebrates perfection. To admit you're struggling, to ask for help, to acknowledge your pain without pretending you're fine. That vulnerability is not weakness, strength in its purest form. Because it means you've chosen authenticity over image. It means you care more about healing than hiding. And that honesty becomes part of your courage story too. When you rise despite the odds, you inspire others, often without even knowing it. Your quiet resilience becomes a light for those still trapped in darkness. Your decision to try again becomes a permission slip for someone else to do the same. Courage is contagious. One act of rising can ripple into another, and another, until an entire community of hope is built from people who chose not to quit. Courage isn't found in never falling. It's found in rising every single time you do. It's not found in perfection or fearlessness. It's found in persistence and presence and purpose. And when you choose to rise, no matter how messy, scared, or uncertain you feel, you're practicing one of the most sacred acts of human strength. You are saying, this struggle will not define me. I will. Struggle is often misunderstood. In a world obsessed with ease, efficiency, and instant results, we're taught to view struggle as a sign of failure, a red flag that something has gone wrong. When things get hard, many of us start to question our worth, our ability, or even our path altogether. But the truth is, struggle isn't a sign of weakness. It's one of the clearest signs that you're in the process of growing. Growth is uncomfortable, messy, and often painful. And struggle is the natural evidence that transformation is underway. If you've ever tried to break a habit, heal from emotional wounds, push yourself physically, or learn something completely new, you already know the feeling. It's not smooth. It doesn't come easily. There are moments of doubt, fatigue, and frustration. That's not weakness. And resistance is a key part of growth. Just like muscles need to be torn slightly to grow stronger, your mindset, your confidence, and your skills need to be challenged to expand. Growth doesn't happen in stillness. It doesn't happen when everything stays the same. It happens when we're forced to stretch beyond what we're used to. When we're faced with problems we don't know how to solve, emotions we're not sure how to process, or situations that demand something deeper from us. Struggle is the signal that you are stepping out of the familiar and into new territory. You're doing something brave. You're evolving. Yet, so many people feel shame when they struggle. They look around and see others who seem to be handling life effortlessly, and they assume they must be doing something wrong. But comparison is a lie. Everyone struggles. Everyone has silent battles. The difference is not in who struggles and who doesn't. The difference is in who chooses to keep going. Growth is not about always having it together. It's about showing up, especially when you don't. The presence of struggle also shows that you care. You don't struggle with things that don't matter to you. You don't wrestle with goals you've already given up on. If you're struggling, it means you're still in the fight. It means you're invested. That discomfort you feel is a reminder that you're not settling. Though, you're challenging yourself, and that challenge, even when it's painful, is fertile ground for personal evolution. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to reframe struggle as progress. Instead of thinking, why is this so hard for me? Start thinking, this is hard because I'm growing. The struggle doesn't mean you're not good enough. It means you're becoming better. It's a sign that your comfort zone is being stretched, your perspective is being widened, and your inner strength is being built. In many ways, struggle is where your real self is formed. It's easy to feel confident when everything is going your way. But in the middle of struggle, when nothing seems to be working, that's when you find your resilience. That's when your values are tested and your courage is forged. It's when you decide who you want to be, not just when things are good, but especially when they're not. When you struggle, you're in motion. You're not stagnant. You're not stuck in passivity or avoidance. You are confronting the very barriers that have held you back. is you're pulling away from comfort and convenience and leaning into growth, even if it's difficult. That's powerful. That's admirable. And that is never weakness. So the next time you find yourself in a struggle, whether it's emotional, mental, physical, or spiritual, recognize it for what it is. It's not a breakdown. It's a breakthrough in progress. It's the discomfort of a deeper version of you coming to life. And that is something to honor, not hide. So, as you move forward in your journey, remember this: struggle is not your enemy. It is your teacher, your sculptor, your greatest ally. Every challenge you face is shaping you into a stronger, wiser, and more compassionate person. When you embrace the struggle, you choose growth over comfort, courage over fear, and hope over despair. Keep leaning into the hard moments. Keep rising each day despite the odds, and trust that on the other side of struggle lies your greatest breakthrough. Your story is still unfolding, and the power to write it boldly is in your hands. Embrace the struggle because it is the path to becoming the fullest, truest version of yourself.